replied to the Rockets' tweet and said, all good. Go Rockets.
That's Andre Johnson right behind him, too. Andre, who's in post-career making his home in Houston. So I don't know how Andre let Alex Bregman get the better seats, though.
Well, I don't think it's had anything to do with let. I think it's about money. All right, Bregman's made far more money, all right? And he's a huge basketball fan. His parents owned the CBA team, so he grew up watching basketball.
Ooh. Alex Bregman's parents did?
Yes.
Oh, it's an interesting little fact of the day.
I didn't know.
Had no idea. There you go. PJ Tucker, good win by the Rockets last night. Looked like they were going to blow it up. 17 late. It got cut to 4.
Now, if they could just do that 80 more times, they'll be all set.
I was watching the game.
Time for Stores to Start Your Morning, brought to you by the unexpected energy of ExxonMobil. Raptors got a big win over the Clippers last night, even with Kawhi Leonard sitting this one out. They improved to an NBA best 22-7. Nick, how impressive have the Raptors been?
22-7. How about this? 6-1 in games Kawhi has not played.
Yep.
That speaks to the depth of the team. Kyle Lowry was mired in an awful shooting slump this month. Broke out of it last night. That's a really good win over a Clippers team that's showing a little signs of weakness as of late.
Huge sign what they do when Kawhi's not there. Nurse has really taken over this franchise, giving them a fresh new approach, especially offensively. They still have that depth and that bench that last year propelled them to that great record. I believe they're a better basketball team this season.
Oh, no question about it.
All right, moving on to the college football playoffs. Oklahoma facing off against #1 Alabama. Lincoln Riley says he's preparing for both quarterbacks, both Tua and Jalen. Cece, how challenging is it to have to prepare for both of these guys?
I don't think it's that much of a challenge because if you look in college, there's so many different style quarterbacks. I can guarantee you Oklahoma has 4 or 5 guys on their roster that can simulate what Jalen can do as a quarterback. Now, Tua is special, but Lincoln Riley was at those award ceremonies all week. He saw Tua walking in that boot, struggling to walk, so he knows he must prepare for both of them. So he'll have the athletes in the practice to be able to simulate what Jalen does.
Lincoln, with respect to Jalen Hurts, Lincoln Riley would be thrilled if this preparation ends up being worthwhile and that Jalen has to play some in this football game. Like, as good as Jalen's record is, we know Tua is a different type of player that brings a totally different dynamic to the passing game of Alabama. Oklahoma's best shot is if Jalen Hurts has to play some.
They ain't got no shot. They're going to pass for 500 yards if Tua's in there, and they're going to run for 500 if Jalen's in there. They're going to knock Oklahoma off the ball.
Moving on, the Cowboys are the hottest team in the NFL right now, riding a 5-game win streak. Just a few weeks ago, though, not so hot. They were 3-5 with rumors swirling about firing their coach and making a quarterback change this offseason. Jerry Jones says this team is motivated by those early season struggles.
When you've had the downs or when you've had the type season we have, it's almost like in life, growing up without any money or growing up in lesser circumstances. Once you've tasted that feeling, it makes you appreciate and makes you not want to go back there. And this team, fortunately, has had real challenges early this year. We have lived to tell about it.
Cece, yesterday on this program, you said you echoed just about everything of late that Jerry Jones has said. Is that streak still alive?
Man, Jerry,
he's making it tough.
Jerry can tell a story, too. And Jerry, if you know of his story, it's definitely a rags to riches type story. And those who have grown up with tougher beginnings, he relates to, and man, he has a bond. He understands that. So I could see why he would use an analogy like that.
He's one of the few NFL owners with that story, by the way. The trajectory that he had and the beginning that he had compared to his other 30 peers across the league.
All right, so how have the Cowboys grown since what happened in the early part of this season?
Well, I think it's important to let people know as far as the staffing. They had 7 new coaches this offseason. Now, Jason Witten leaving that locker room, Des Bryant leaving that locker room. So they had, culturally, they had tremendous amount of shifting going on. We didn't calculate that before the season. Jerry realized his wide receiver room, his big offseason move from a wide receiver was to get Allen Hurns from Jacksonville, who was injured, who he thought could be a #1. I thought he was going to be a #1 there. I knew he wasn't a long-term solution to solve your passing problem. So Jerry realized, I'm not going to punt on the season. I believe that we're good enough. And with that young defense, but all the changes they went through, offensive line not playing as well, so they made the adjustments. He is right. They went through some growing pains. They are on the uptick. They are one of the hottest teams in the league, and they're getting better because their passing game is getting better. So those types of things they do fortify you as a locker room, and you do understand. Right now, I think in beating the Saints a few weeks ago, they saw their potential. So in saying that, man, when you grow up poor and you go away to college, you start realizing, man, there's nicer things in life. There's nicer places to live. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I believe these young players, it can be infectious. And I like how they responded after 2 big Thursday games, especially the second one against the Saints. They came back the next week and they were focused. Even though they didn't play great football, weren't making a lot of mistakes, weren't being careless, weren't getting a lot of penalties. So for me, them being focused and not letting that success get to their head, I like where the Cowboys are. And, Jerry, I hate to say it again, I echo.
Yeah,
but
you
Jerry,
agree with him.
I'm buying it, Jerry.
Right.
You got me.
It is not an overstatement, it's not hyperbole to say the Cowboys right now are the best at everything that they've been at any point in the year. The offensive line is playing its best. Its young defense is not as young anymore. Jalen Smith, his first year healthy, he's now 13 games into that year. Leighton Vander Esch, you know, a really good player even right when he came into the league, but now he's 13 games into his NFL career. Zeke is running the most effectively he's run since his rookie season. And obviously, as of the fourth quarter and overtime of the Philly game, we're seeing Dak Prescott. It's very small sample size.
That is a very, very, very
of course, but it's the most recent. It's the most recent thing we've got. He played the best he has played, and the reason that, even though it's a tiny sample size, you might be able to draw something from it is it wasn't a random occurrence. It was, oh, the guy they traded a first-round pick for, Amari Cooper, he and Dak connected repeatedly to win that football game. I'll even go to the coaching staff. It's not just the new offensive line coach, the new receivers coach, Sanjay Lal. The guy who's been there, Jason Garrett, he learned from his mistakes early in the year. Too conservative in an overtime on a 4th down, lost a game because of it.
Went for it.
Went uber aggressive on a 4th down in overtime. I think won a game in part because of it. So the Cowboys right now are in all phases of the game playing the best they've played all season. Now, as Coach Mangini talked about, the key is, can you sustain that over the last 1/5 of the season before you get to the postseason, which is, of course, where it all is going to be determined how worthwhile it was.
I'll admit it. Nick was wrong. All right, moving on to the Golden State Warriors. Hasn't exactly been the start to the season that many anticipated for the defending champs. But Kevin Durant, not known for saying anything that could go viral, told Yahoo Sports something that could go viral. He said, I know for a fact that we'll all get our jerseys retired. We'll probably all get statues here in front of the Chase Center. We'll be Bay Area legends forever, meaning that people will recognize this team and this run forever in this area. I think that's going to happen. I think about 50 years from now, when they have our whole team on the Chase Center floor or wherever the arena is at that point, all the fans will be cheering for us and reminiscing on those days. All right, CC, let me start with you. How do you think history will remember the Golden State Warriors? The way Kevin Durant has it laid out?
I'm going to go to Nick as far as the history buff before I dive in, because, man, I don't see a lot of NBA players walking around at 80, but
well, and I would caution everyone, not just the Warriors, building statues of people that are living is always a risky maneuver.
Yep.
So the retiring of the jersey, agree on. The Lakers got a whole bunch of statues in front of their arena. It's turned out great for them thus far. I would hold off on this. You never want to have to take the statue down, is my point. But listen, how will history remember this Warriors team? This is the greatest collection of talent in modern NBA history. You have Steph and KD, who are already 2 of the 25 best players in the history of basketball and not done yet, and climbing, and could crack that hollowed top 15, maybe even the top 10. You have Klay, who is a top 3 shooter in the history of the game, and I would argue a top 3 heat check guy that I've ever seen. Like, as far as his ability to catch fire and be unstoppable. To go along with, now we're on their 4th guy, Draymond Green, who is one of the best defenders of his era and one of the most versatile guys of his era. Only one team since Durant's gotten there has taken them to a Game 6. They've won every series in 4 or 5. So history will, assuming this year goes the way we think it will, history will remember this run as dominant a stretch of time as any team has ever had, as dominant as Shaq and Kobe's Lakers, as dominant of what Jordan did in either three-peat, as dominant as what we saw from Russell Celtics. They obviously did it over a longer period of time. But in this stretch of time, we've never seen this much talent and this much winning done. That's, to me, how history will remember this Warriors.
You said assuming this year goes as we assume it will. Do you think this year is going to go the way we thought it would at the beginning of the season?
I just think it's kind of puzzling to me why Kevin Durant would be talking about three-peating, why he would be talking about after the season and it's December. That to me is just kind of puzzling. I've never, and I was traveling around with Michael Jordan. I happen to be friends with Michael Jordan. Ron Harper is a dear friend of mine, grew up with him. I never heard MJ talking about stuff like this. I think it's the greatest collection of talent. Yeah. I don't think it's as good as the run that Jordan went on, because the only thing that interrupted that was his retirement. So it was longer, his three-peat on one end and then coming back and three-peating on the other end, to me, was the most dominant time that I've seen in the NBA in the modern era. This is special. They're special. I wish they could keep it going. But with Kevin Durant, he's put this on the board. I don't know why he's talking about it. That does not help his legacy, talking about his legacy before he accomplishes it. So I would like to see how it's played out. I would like to see them compete against someone in a 6-7 game series. So it's really, right now for me, I don't know what their future is, so it's hard to say how many does Steph win. Because the Warriors' history is not going to end with KD if he leaves and everything. So to me, it's just idiotic to talk about where they are when Steph and Klay have said, man, we're staying here.
Well, and the other part of it is, if KD leaves after this year, what Steph/Klay and the Warriors do moving forward, and what KD does moving forward. Because I said all those great things about this team, and they're all true. But the only but about this run is how it came together and the circumstances in which it was, which is Kevin Durant couldn't beat LeBron. Right. And then had a 3-1 lead on a team that theoretically could beat LeBron and lost it to him. And then that team had a 3-1 lead on LeBron, lost it to him, and then they came together. So for these guys, absent of the Warriors, but to cement their own individual legacies, what you would need to see is them get over that mountain separately. Either Durant...
Yeah, I disagree with you as far as KD had to leave OKC because he couldn't beat LeBron.
No, he couldn't beat the Warriors.
Well, but you said he couldn't beat LeBron.
I'm sorry, he had lost to LeBron in OKC. They didn't get to play again after that. So I'm not saying, we don't know if he could or couldn't, is what I should have said. And they had played once and lost. And so my point is, we haven't been able to see KD in a situation not with the Warriors, just like we haven't seen Steph and Klay in a situation without KD, aside from the first year when LeBron's second best player was